47% of Americans report feeling angrier than they did just 5 years ago. Road rage incidents have tripled in the last decade. Workplace conflicts are at an all-time high. Emergency room visits from anger-related violence are surging. And here's the part that should terrify you. Your anger might be literally killing you. But in the next 2 hours, that changes. By the end of this audiobook, you'll understand exactly what's happening in your brain the moment anger strikes. You'll have 7 proven science-backed techniques to interrupt the anger response before it controls you. And here's what's crucial. Stay until the end. The final chapter contains a complete daily system you can start implementing tomorrow morning. Everything you need to reclaim control of your emotions, your relationships, and your life. But let's start right now. Wherever you are, driving, walking, at home, I want you to try something. Take a breath in through your nose for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 7 counts. Now release it slowly through your mouth for 8 counts. Do that one more time with me. 4 in, 7 hold. 8 out, feel that slight shift? That small sense of calm? That's control. That's what we're building for the next 2 hours. That's proof that you're not powerless. Your nervous system just responded to a simple technique. Imagine what happens when you master all 7 secrets. Let's begin. If you're listening to this, chances are anger has cost you something. Maybe it was a relationship, a job opportunity, your kids' respect, a good night's sleep, peace of mind. Or maybe it was something smaller that added up over time. The joy sucked out of your commute, the tension that fills your home, the constant apologies for losing your temper. You're not alone. Not even close. We're living through what psychologists are calling an anger epidemic. The statistics are staggering, but they barely scratch the surface of what you already feel in your daily life. Survey after survey shows the same troubling trend. We're angrier, more irritable, quicker to rage than any generation in recent history. Here's what that looks like in real numbers. Aggressive driving incidents have increased by 300% since 2010. The American Psychological Association reports that anger-related stress is now the #1 complaint in therapy sessions, surpassing even anxiety and depression. In workplaces, HR departments report that anger management issues are involved in over 40% of workplace conflicts. The cost to businesses? Over $400 billion annually in lost productivity, damaged relationships, and employee turnover. But these are just statistics. Let me show you what this actually looks like. It's Tuesday morning. You're already running late. The coffee machine breaks. Your spouse makes a comment about time management. Something inside you ignites. Words you don't mean come pouring out. By the time you're in the car, you're drowning in guilt. But then someone cuts you off in traffic, and that rage you thought you'd suppressed. It erupts. You lean on the horn. You tailgate. You're shaking with adrenaline. And this is just before 9 a.m. Or maybe it's this. You come home from a long day. You're exhausted. All you want is 20 minutes of peace. But the house is chaos. Kids are fighting. Dishes are piled up. Your partner asks you to help with homework. You snap. The look on your child's face, you've seen it before. Fear, or worse, the resigned acceptance that this is just who you are now. The angry parent again, or this one, you're in a meeting. Your idea gets shot down. Or worse, someone else gets credit for your work. You feel the heat rising in your chest, your jaw clenching. You want to explode, to tell everyone exactly what you think. But you can't, so you swallow it down. You smile, you nod, and that anger, it doesn't disappear. It settles in your stomach, in your shoulders, in your racing thoughts at 2 a.m. when you replay the moment over and over, thinking of everything you should have said. Do any of these sound familiar? Here's the thing most people don't realize. Whether you explode or implode, whether you rage or suppress, the cost is the same. Your body doesn't know the difference between expressed anger and swallowed anger. Both trigger the same stress response. Both flood your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Both damage your health. Let's talk about what chronic anger is actually doing to you. Physically, the research is clear and devastating. People who experience regular intense anger have a 19% higher risk of heart disease. Every angry outburst increases your risk of heart attack by nearly 5 times in the 2 hours following the episode. Chronic anger weakens your immune system, disrupts your sleep, raises your blood pressure, and accelerates aging at a cellular level. In simple terms, anger is aging you faster and cutting your life shorter. But the physical toll is just the beginning. The relationship cost? Immeasurable. How many times have you said things you can't take back? How many bridges have you burned? The University of Michigan tracked 373 married couples over 16 years. The couples who expressed anger frequently, even what they called normal marital conflict, had significantly higher rates of divorce, health problems, and unhappiness. Your anger doesn't just hurt you. It creates ripples that damage everyone close to you. Your children are watching. Research from the University of Pittsburgh shows that children who grow up in homes with frequent anger, even if it's not directed at them, have higher rates of anxiety, depression, and behavioral problems. They're learning from you right now. They're learning that anger is how adults solve problems. They're learning to either fear conflict or become conflict themselves. And your career? Uncontrolled anger is a career killer. A study of over 800 professionals found that emotional volatility was the #1 predictor of career stagnation. Not lack of skills, not education, emotional control. Leaders who can't manage their anger don't get promoted. They get managed out. But here's what nobody talks about: the internal cost, the shame, the guilt, the constant feeling that you're failing, that you're broken, that you're a bad person. You promise yourself never again after every outburst. You swear tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow comes, and the same triggers set you off, and you're right back where you started. The shame deepens. The belief that you can't change becomes concrete. Am I describing your life? Here's what I need you to hear, and I need you to really hear it. You are not broken. Read that again. You are not broken. Your anger is not a character defect. It's not proof that you're a bad person. It's not evidence that you're beyond help. Anger is a normal human emotion. It's actually a healthy emotion when it's understood and channeled correctly. The problem isn't that you get angry. The problem is that no one ever taught you what to do with anger when it arrives. Think about it. We spend years learning math, history, languages, but emotional regulation? We're supposed to just figure that out on our own. It's like handing someone car keys without driving lessons and then shaming them when they crash. But here's the incredible news. Emotional regulation is a skill. Just like driving, just like reading, just like anything else you've learned in your life. It can be taught, it can be practiced, it can be mastered, and the research proves it. Neuroscience has given us something revolutionary, the understanding that your brain is not fixed. It's plastic, changeable. Every time you practice a new response to anger, you're literally rewiring your neural pathways. This isn't motivational fluff. This is hard science. Your brain at 60 can learn new patterns just as effectively as it did at 16. Age doesn't matter. Your past doesn't matter. What matters is what you choose to do, starting right now. Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin has spent 30 years studying emotional regulation. His research shows that people can fundamentally change their emotional baseline in as little as 8 weeks of consistent practice. 8 weeks. 2 months from now, you could be a different person in how you handle anger. Not because you're suppressing it, not because you're faking calm, but because you've actually rewired how your brain processes anger. I've seen this transformation hundreds of times. I've watched people who thought they were permanently angry people become the calmest person in the room. I've seen marriages saved, careers transformed, parent-child relationships healed. And it always starts the same way, with the decision that enough is enough. So here's what we're going to do together over the next 2 hours. First, we're going to understand exactly what's happening in your brain when anger strikes. You need to see the mechanical process, the neuroscience, so you stop personalizing it. Anger isn't you. It's a brain process you can learn to interrupt. Then, I'm going to give you 7 specific, proven techniques. Not vague advice like calm down or count to 10. Actual tools backed by neuroscience and psychology research. Tools that work in the real world, in traffic, in meetings, in arguments with your spouse. When your kids push every button you have. We'll cover the 5-second pause that interrupts the anger spiral before it starts. How to map your personal triggers so you can see anger coming before it arrives. The RAIN technique that transforms how you relate to intense emotions. Cognitive tools to rewrite the stories that fuel your anger. Communication strategies so you can express your needs without exploding. And finally, how to build a resilience reserve that makes you nearly immune to the small stuff that used to set you off. By the end, you won't just have information, you'll have a complete daily practice, a system, something you can actually implement and sustain. But I need you to bring something to this. Commitment. Not perfection, not instant transformation, just commitment to the process. This audiobook is just over 2 hours. 2 hours to potentially change the trajectory of your life. That's less time than a movie. Less time than you'll spend scrolling social media today. Stay with me through all 9 chapters. Don't skip around. Each one builds on the last. The secrets are sequential for a reason, and please stay until the end. Chapter 9 contains your implementation guide, the actual daily system that makes everything stick. If you're ready, if you're tired of apologizing for your anger, if you're done with the shame and the damage and the feeling of being out of control, then this is your moment. This is where it changes. Let me ask you, what would your life look like 6 months from now if you could consistently stay calm in situations that used to make you explode? How would your relationships change? How would you feel about yourself? That version of you is possible. That version starts building today. Comment "ready" right now if you're committed to this journey. Say it out loud if you need to. I'm ready, because you are. You're here. That's the hardest step. Let's do this. Chapter 2 starts in a moment, where we dive into your brain and discover exactly what's happening when anger takes over. You're going to learn things that change how you see yourself forever. See you there. Chapter 2, The Science of Rage. What's happening in your brain? You just learned that you're not alone in your struggle with anger. You learned that you're not broken. Now it's time to understand exactly what's happening inside your skull when anger takes over. Because here's the truth, you can't change what you don't understand. What I'm about to show you will fundamentally change how you see yourself. Not as someone with a character flaw, not as someone who lacks willpower, but as someone with a brain doing exactly what it's been programmed to do over millions of years of evolution. Once you see the mechanics, you'll stop personalizing your anger, and that shift alone is transformative. Let me introduce you to the 2 parts of your brain that are at war every time you get angry. First, there's the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's smoke detector. It's small, about the size and shape of an almond, and it sits deep in the center of your brain. Its job is simple: scan for threats and sound the alarm. This structure is ancient. It evolved hundreds of millions of years ago when our ancestors needed split-second reactions to survive. See a snake? Amygdala fires. Hear a twig snap in the forest. Amygdala activates. Someone in your tribe challenges you. Amygdala goes ballistic. The amygdala doesn't think. It doesn't reason. It doesn't care about consequences or your mortgage or your marriage. It just reacts. Fast, automatic, and it's been keeping humans alive for eons by doing exactly that. Now meet the prefrontal cortex. This is the front part of your brain, right behind your forehead. This is your rational mind, your CEO. The part that thinks about consequences, plans for the future, considers other people's perspectives, and makes wise decisions. This is the part of you that knows yelling at your boss is a bad idea. The part that understands your kids are just being kids. The part that realizes the driver who cut you off probably didn't even see you. Here's the problem. When the amygdala detects a threat, real or perceived, it hijacks your entire brain. It literally shuts down the prefrontal cortex. Blood flow redirects, neural pathways change. Your wise, rational CEO gets unplugged, and your ancient, reactive smoke detector takes control. Dr. Daniel Goleman, the psychologist who popularized the term emotional intelligence, calls this an amygdala hijack. And that word, hijack, is perfect, because that's exactly how it feels, isn't it? Like something else has taken control of your body, like you're watching yourself from outside screaming, "Stop," but unable to intervene. Now here's something that will change everything. The 90-second rule. Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, a brain scientist who had a stroke and studied her own brain recovery, discovered something remarkable. When you get triggered, when something happens that sparks anger, your body releases a cascade of chemicals. Adrenaline floods your system. Cortisol spikes. Your heart races. Your muscles tense. You feel that heat, that surge, that overwhelming intensity. But here's what she found. That chemical response has a 90-second lifespan. 90 seconds. That's it. If you don't feed it with thoughts, if you don't stoke it with stories about how wronged you are or how unfair this is, the chemical reaction naturally dissipates in 90 seconds. Let that sink in. The physical sensation of anger, that overwhelming, intense feeling, lasts 90 seconds if you just let it be. So why does your anger last hours? Days, why are you still replaying that argument from this morning or that email from last week? Because you're re-triggering yourself. You're recycling the thoughts. I can't believe they said that. Who do they think they are? This always happens to me. Every time you replay the scenario, every time you rehearse your response, every time you build your case for why you're right and they're wrong, you're hitting the reset button on that 90-second timer. Your brain can't tell the difference between something happening right now and you vividly remembering it. The same chemicals release, the same hijack occurs. You're literally re-angering yourself over and over. Think about the last time you got really angry. How long did you hold on to it? Hours, the whole day? Now imagine if you'd known that the raw physical sensation would have passed in 90 seconds if you'd just allowed it. Just 90 seconds of sitting with discomfort instead of hours of suffering. This is the first piece of real power I'm handing you. The knowledge that anger is a wave. It rises, it peaks, and if you don't feed it, it falls. 90 seconds. But you're probably thinking, if it's only 90 seconds, why does it feel so intense? Why does it feel like I can't control it? Great question. Let me explain what's happening in your body. When your amygdala sounds the alarm, your body shifts into fight or flight mode. This is your sympathetic nervous system activating. Your adrenal glands dump adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. Your heart rate jumps, sometimes doubling. Blood pressure spikes. Your muscles flood with oxygen and glucose, preparing you to fight or flee. Your pupils dilate to see threats better. Your digestive system shuts down because you don't need to digest lunch when you're fighting for survival. All of this happens in milliseconds. Completely automatic. Completely unconscious. And here's the kicker. Your thinking brain, that prefrontal cortex, gets overridden. The technical term is hypofrontality. Blood literally flows away from your rational brain and toward your reactive centers. This is why you can't think clearly when you're angry. This is why you say things you don't mean. This is why later you think, what was I thinking? The answer? You weren't. Not with your rational brain anyway. Your amygdala is operating on a simple program. Threat detected, prepare to fight. It doesn't care that the threat is your spouse leaving dishes in the sink or your colleague taking credit for your idea. The response is the same as if you were facing a predator. Your body doesn't know the difference between a physical threat and a social one, between actual danger and perceived disrespect. Evolution hasn't caught up to modern life. Your brain still operates like you're surviving in the savannah, not sitting in traffic or navigating office politics. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The amygdala doesn't just respond to real threats. It responds to perceived threats. And what counts as a threat is deeply personal, shaped by your history, your wounds, your learned patterns. Someone cutting you off in traffic might not bother one person at all. But for you, instant rage. Why? Because your brain has learned to interpret that action as disrespect. And disrespect to your amygdala equals threat. Your brain is constantly running predictions. It takes in information from your senses and compares it to past experiences. When there's a mismatch between what you expect and what happens, alarm bells ring. The smaller your window of tolerance, the less flexible your expectations, the more often you'll feel threatened. This is why you might have a hair trigger about certain things. Being interrupted, being corrected, being ignored, running late, things not going according to plan. These aren't universal triggers. They're your personal triggers, shaped by your unique history. Maybe being interrupted triggers you because as a child, you were constantly talked over. Your brain learned, being interrupted means I don't matter. Now, decades later, when someone interrupts you in a meeting, your amygdala doesn't hear someone interrupting. It hears, you don't matter. Threat, hijack, explosion. Understanding this is crucial. Your anger often isn't about what's happening right now. It's about what your brain thinks is happening based on old programming. Now for the revolutionary part. the part that should fill you with hope. Your brain is not fixed. The patterns that cause your anger, they can be changed completely. At any age, this concept is called neuroplasticity. Your brain is plastic, moldable, changeable. Every experience you have creates and strengthens neural pathways. Every thought you think, every action you take, every response you practice is literally rewiring your brain circuitry. Think of it like walking through a field. The first time it's hard, you're pushing through tall grass. But if you walk the same path every day, eventually you create a clear trail. That's what happens in your brain. Every time you respond to a trigger with anger, you're strengthening that neural pathway. You're making it easier to get angry the next time. But here's the flip side. Every time you respond differently, you're creating a new pathway. At first, it's hard. The old pathway is well-worn and automatic. The new pathway barely exists. But if you keep practicing the new response, that pathway gets stronger. Eventually, the new response becomes automatic. The old pathway, the anger reaction, begins to fade from disuse. Dr. Richard Davidson's research at the University of Wisconsin has proven this beyond doubt. Brain scans show measurable changes in the amygdala and prefrontal cortex after just 8 weeks of practicing new emotional responses. 8 weeks. Your brain at 50 can learn new patterns just as effectively as it did at 15. This means you are not stuck. You are not just an angry person. You have a brain with well-worn pathways toward anger, and you can build new pathways toward calm, toward pause, toward intentional response. So how do you interrupt a process that happens in milliseconds? How do you stop something that's automatic and unconscious? The answer might surprise you. You can't stop the initial reaction. When your amygdala detects a threat, it's going to fire. That first surge of sensation, unstoppable, completely automatic. But here's what you can do. You can choose what happens next. Between the trigger and your action is a space. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, said it perfectly. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space might be 1 second, it might be 5 seconds, but it exists. And in that space, you have a choice. Follow the old pathway, the automatic, anger response, or pause and choose something different. This is the entire game. Expanding that space. Noticing it exists, learning to live in it for just long enough to make a conscious choice. Right now, you probably don't even notice the space. The trigger happens and boom, you're reacting. It feels instantaneous. But I promise you the space is there. We're going to train you to find it, to recognize it, and to use it. Let me bring this full circle. Everything you've just learned changes the game completely. Your anger isn't a moral failing. It's neuroscience. It's an ancient brain structure doing its job in a modern world. It's learned pathways that can be unlearned. It's a 90-second chemical reaction that you've been unknowingly extending for hours. You're not bad. You're not weak. You're human with a human brain that's operating exactly as it's been programmed to operate. And now that you understand the program, you can rewrite it. Think about how this changes your self-talk. Instead of, "I'm such a terrible person for getting angry," you can say, "My amygdala detected a threat and hijacked my prefrontal cortex." That's biology, not character. Instead of shame, you have understanding. Instead of helplessness, you have a roadmap. In the next chapter, we're diving into secret number 1. The 5-second pause. This is the technique that allows you to interrupt the amygdala hijack before it takes full control. This is where we start building that new neural pathway. This is where theory becomes practice. But before we move on, take a moment. Think about the last time you got angry. Can you see it differently now? Can you imagine the amygdala firing, the prefrontal cortex shutting down, the 90-second wave of chemicals? Can you see yourself not as someone who failed, but as someone whose brain was doing exactly what it's programmed to do? That perspective shift is the foundation of everything that comes next. Comment your biggest insight from this chapter. What clicked for you? Was it the 90-second rule, the amygdala hijack, the idea that you're not broken, just operating on old programming? Share it. Saying it out loud or typing it out helps cement the learning. You're now about 20% through this journey. You understand the problem. You understand the mechanism. Now we learn the solutions. Now we build the skills. Now we change the brain. Let's go to Chapter 3. The 5-second pause is waiting for you. This is where transformation begins. Chapter 3. Secret number 1. The 5-second pause. Interrupt the pattern. You now understand what's happening in your brain when anger strikes. You know about the amygdala hijack. You know about the 90-second chemical wave. You know your brain is plastic and changeable. But knowledge without action is just entertainment. This is where we move from theory to transformation. This is where you learn the single most powerful tool in anger management. Welcome to secret number 1, the 5-second pause. This technique alone has saved marriages, rescued careers, prevented words that can never be taken back. And here's the beautiful part. It's ridiculously simple. So simple you might be tempted to dismiss it. Don't. The most powerful tools are often the simplest ones. Remember Viktor Frankl's words from the last chapter. Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. That space, that tiny gap between something happening and you reacting, is where your freedom lives. Right now, you probably can't even detect that space. Someone says something insulting and instantly you're firing back. Someone cuts you off in traffic and immediately your hand is on the horn. Your kid talks back and without thinking you're yelling. It feels instantaneous. Trigger equals reaction. No gap, no choice, but I promise you, the gap exists. It might be 1 second, it might be half a second, but it's there. And we're going to stretch that gap from 1 second to 5 seconds. 5 seconds is all you need to interrupt the automatic anger response and choose something different. Think about what 5 seconds gives you. 5 seconds is enough time for your prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, to come back online. 5 seconds is enough for you to remember that this moment will pass. 5 seconds is enough to choose your response instead of being hijacked by your reaction. 5 seconds is the difference between exploding and staying in control, between damaging a relationship and preserving it, between shame and self-respect. The fastest, most reliable way to create that pause? Your breath. You've already tried the 4-7-8 technique in Chapter 1. Now we're going to master it and understand exactly why it works. Here's the technique. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 7 counts. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 counts. That's it. One cycle takes 19 seconds, but you don't even need the full cycle. Just starting the breath interrupts the hijack. Why does this work? 3 reasons. First, you cannot breathe deeply and be in full fight or flight mode at the same time. Deep, controlled breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your calm system. It's the opposite of the stress response. Your body gets confused. Wait, we're breathing like we're safe. Maybe we're not in danger after all. The alarm starts to quiet. Second, conscious breathing brings you into the present moment. Anger lives in your thoughts about the past or future. They shouldn't have done that. This is going to ruin everything. But you can't think those thoughts and count your breath at the same time. Breathing yanks you into now, and right now, this second, you're safe. You're just breathing. Third, and this is crucial, focusing on your breath gives your prefrontal cortex something to do. Remember, the amygdala shut down your rational brain. But if you give your prefrontal cortex a simple task, counting breath, it starts coming back online. The CEO is returning to the building. Let's practice right now. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, take 1, 4, 7, 8 breath with me. Ready? Breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now release slowly through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feel that? That's the pause. That's control. You just interrupted your nervous system and told it, I'm in charge here. But here's the secret within the secret. The earlier you catch anger, the easier it is to interrupt. Your body gives you warning signs before the full hijack happens. Most people don't notice them because they're not paying attention. But once you learn to recognize your personal early warning signs, you get advance notice. You can pause before you even need to. Common early warning signs include jaw clenching, shoulders tensing, stomach tightening, heart rate increasing, face flushing, hands forming fists, breathing getting shallow, a surge of heat in your chest. What are yours? Think about the last time you got angry. Before you exploded, what did your body do? Did your jaw tighten? Did your hands clench? Did you feel heat rising? That's your personal alarm system. Your body is trying to warn you. Hey, we're about to lose it. Intervene now. Start paying attention. The moment you notice any of these signs, that's your cue. Pause. Breathe. You've just caught anger in the first 10 seconds instead of the last 10 seconds. Game changer. Sometimes the anger is too intense for just breathing. You need something more physical. Something that shocks your system out of the pattern. Here are 3 powerful physical interrupts. The cold water reset. This is surprisingly effective. When you feel rage building, put your face in cold water, or hold ice cubes in your hands, or splash cold water on your wrists. The sudden temperature change activates your mammalian dive reflex, an ancient response that immediately slows your heart rate and calms your nervous system. It's like hitting the reset button on your entire body. The walk away, literally remove yourself from the situation. This isn't avoidance. This isn't running away. It's strategic retreat. Say, I need 5 minutes and leave the room. Walk around the block. Go to the bathroom. The physical movement helps discharge the adrenaline flooding your system, and the distance gives your prefrontal cortex time to come back online. The key is communicating your intention. I'm getting too angry to have this conversation productively. I need a few minutes to calm down. Let's continue in 10 minutes. That's mature. That's responsible. That's the opposite of storming off in rage. The muscle release. Anger creates massive physical tension. Your muscles are coiled, ready to fight. But you can interrupt that tension on purpose. Tense your fists as hard as you can for 5 seconds. Then release. Tense your shoulders up to your ears. Hold. Release. Tense your whole body. Hold. Release. This technique, called progressive muscle relaxation, helps discharge the physical energy of anger without expressing it destructively. While you're using these physical techniques, your mind needs something to do. Otherwise, it'll keep recycling angry thoughts. This is where mental scripts come in. Pre-planned phrases you say to yourself in the moment. Here are 5 powerful scripts. Choose 1 or 2 that resonate with you. Memorize them. They become your mental anchor. Script 1. This feeling will pass. Simple, true, powerful. It reminds you that anger is temporary. The 90-second rule. This intensity won't last forever. You just have to ride the wave. Script 2. I can choose my response. This restores your sense of agency. Anger makes you feel out of control. This phrase reminds you, I have power. I have choice. I am not my reaction. Script 3. Is this worth the cost? This engages your prefrontal cortex. It makes you think about consequences. Is the satisfaction of telling them off worth damaging this relationship? Is winning this argument worth losing this job? Usually the answer is no. Script 4. What do I really need right now? This shifts you from reaction to reflection. Under the anger, there's usually an unmet need. Respect, understanding, control, fairness. If you can identify the need, you can address it directly instead of exploding. Script 5. Pause, breathe, choose. 3 words. A complete system. Pause the reaction. Breathe to calm. Choose your response. Tattoo this on your brain. Let me show you how this works in real life. Sarah is a project manager at a tech company. She's been working on a major presentation for 3 months. The morning of the big meeting, her colleague Marcus sends an email to leadership taking credit for her work. Her name isn't even mentioned. Sarah's at her desk when she reads the email. Instant rage. Her face flushes. Her jaw clenches. Her hands form fists. The old Sarah would have stormed into Marcus's office and destroyed him in front of everyone. She'd done it before. It never ended well, but Sarah had been practicing the pause. She felt the anger surge and she recognized it. There's my early warning sign. She immediately stood up and walked to the bathroom. 5 steps, and she was already doing the 4-7-8 breath. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. In the bathroom, she splashed cold water on her face. The shock helped. She looked at herself in the mirror and said out loud, "This feeling will pass. I can choose my response. Is this worth the cost?" The anger was still there, but it was no longer in control. Her prefrontal cortex was back. She could think. She asked herself, "What do I really need right now?" The answer was clear. She needed the record corrected. She needed recognition for her work. But she didn't need to destroy Marcus. She didn't need to burn the relationship. She went back to her desk. Waited another 5 minutes. Then she sent a calm, professional email to leadership. "I noticed my name was inadvertently left off the project update. I'd like to clarify my role and contributions." She CC'd Marcus. No anger, no accusation. Just facts. The response was immediate. Her boss apologized, asked her to present instead of Marcus. Marcus looked like an idiot without her having to say a word. Sarah told me later, the old me would have exploded. Would have said things I couldn't take back. Would have been labeled emotional and unprofessional. Instead, I stayed calm, got what I needed, and kept my dignity. 5 seconds changed everything. That's the power of the pause. Here's the truth. You won't master this immediately. The first time you try to pause in the middle of real anger, it might not work. The amygdala is strong. The old pathways are well worn. You might still explode. That's okay. This is a skill. Skills take practice. Start small. Don't wait for a major conflict to practice. Practice on minor irritations. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Pause and breathe instead of honking. Your coffee order is wrong. Pause before snapping at the barista. The elevator is too slow. Pause instead of hitting the button repeatedly. These small moments are your training ground. You're building the neural pathway. You're teaching your brain. When triggered, we pause. When threatened, we breathe. When angry, we choose. Do this 10, 20, 50 times with small irritations. And when the big moment comes, the real conflict, the serious threat to your ego, the pause will be there. It'll be automatic. The new pathway will be strong enough to compete with the old one. Here's what you're going to do starting today. Step 1. Practice 4 to 7-8, breathing 3 times daily. Not when you're angry, when you're calm. Morning, afternoon, evening. Make it muscle memory, so when you need it, it's there. Step 2. Identify your top 3 early warning signs. Journal about this. The next time you're irritated, pay attention. What does your body do first? Write it down. That's your personal alarm system. Step 3. Choose your mental script. Pick one of the 5 phrases, or create your own. Memorize it. Say it to yourself throughout the day. Make it automatic. Step 4. Practice on small stuff. Every minor irritation this week is an opportunity. Traffic, long lines, slow internet. Pause, breathe, choose, build the skill. This one technique, the 5-second pause, is more powerful than you can imagine right now. Sounds too simple to work, but I've seen it save relationships that were on the brink of divorce. I've seen it rescue careers that were about to be destroyed by anger. I've seen people completely transform how they show up in the world, because here's what the pause really does. It returns power to you. Anger makes you a victim of your circumstances. Pause makes you the author of your response. Anger says, I have no choice. Pause says, I always have a choice. 5 seconds. That's all it takes to interrupt a pattern you've had for decades. 5 seconds to choose who you want to be in this moment. You're now 30% through this audiobook. You've learned what anger is, how it works, and now you have your first tool to interrupt it. The next secret builds on this one. We're going deeper. We're mapping your personal triggers so you can see anger coming before it arrives. But first, practice. Today. Right now. The next time you feel even slight irritation, pause. Breathe, choose, come back and tell me how it went. Comment paused if you commit to trying this at least once today. This is your power. Claim it. See you in Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Secret number 2. Know your triggers. The anger map. You now have the power of the pause. You can interrupt the anger response with breath, with physical techniques, with mental scripts. That's reactive power, the ability to stop anger once it starts. But what if you could do better than that? What if you could see anger coming before it even arrives? What if you could predict the situations, the people, the circumstances that are most likely to set you off? That's exactly what this chapter is about. Welcome to secret number 2. Knowing your triggers. Most people experience anger as random. It just happens. One day you're fine. The next day the smallest thing sends you into a rage. It feels unpredictable, which makes it feel uncontrollable. But I'm going to show you something that changes everything. Your anger isn't random at all. It has patterns, clear, predictable patterns. And once you can see the patterns, you can prepare for them. You can prevent them. You can intercept anger long before it becomes a hijack. You're about to become an anger detective, and the mystery you're solving is yourself. Here's a powerful truth. Anger doesn't come out of nowhere. It feels that way because you're not paying attention to the setup. You only notice the explosion, not the conditions that created it. Think about a fire. Fires don't spontaneously combust. They need 3 things: fuel, oxygen, and heat. Remove any one of those elements and you can't have a fire. Your anger works the same way. There are specific conditions, triggers, that create the perfect environment for anger to ignite. When you understand your personal triggers, you gain incredible power. You can walk into situations knowing, this is high risk for me. I need to be extra careful here. You can structure your day to minimize exposure to triggers. You can prepare yourself mentally and physically before entering trigger zones. This is the difference between constantly being blindsided by your anger and strategically managing your emotional landscape. It's the difference between being reactive and being proactive. Let me give you the simplest, most powerful trigger assessment tool in existence. It's called HALT, and it stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These 4 physical and emotional states dramatically increase your vulnerability to anger. They lower your threshold. Things that normally wouldn't bother you suddenly feel intolerable. Your window of tolerance shrinks to nothing. Let's break down each one. Hungry, when your blood sugar drops, your prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, literally doesn't have enough fuel to function properly. Studies show that people who are hungry make worse decisions, have less self-control, and are significantly more irritable. There's a reason hangry is a real word. Low glucose equals low impulse control. Angry. This one seems obvious, but it's crucial. If you're already carrying unresolved anger from earlier, that argument this morning, that frustrating email, that interaction from yesterday you can't let go of, you're already at a higher baseline. You're starting at a 6 out of 10 instead of 0. It takes very little to push you to 10. You're a bomb waiting for a match. Lonely. Human beings are social creatures. When you feel disconnected, isolated, unseen, or unheard, your stress levels skyrocket. Loneliness activates the same brain regions as physical pain. And when you're in pain, your tolerance for additional stress plummets. You become defensive, reactive, quick to perceive threat. Tired. Sleep deprivation is one of the most powerful anger triggers. When you're exhausted, your amygdala becomes hyperactive. Simultaneously, your prefrontal cortex loses its ability to regulate that amygdala. It's like removing the brakes from a car while pressing the gas pedal. Research shows that people who sleep less than 6 hours a night are 30% more likely to have anger outbursts. Here's your new daily practice. Before you judge yourself for being angry, run the HALT checklist. Am I hungry? Am I already angry about something else? Am I feeling lonely or disconnected? Am I tired? If the answer to any of these is yes, that's not an excuse for bad behavior. It's information. It's your body telling you, hey, I'm vulnerable right now. I need extra support. I need to be extra careful. Pause right now and ask yourself, which of these 4 states makes you most vulnerable? When you look at your recent anger episodes, how many of them happened when you were hungry or tired or already frustrated? I'm willing to bet it's most of them. Beyond HALT, there are 5 major categories of anger triggers. Everyone has triggers in multiple categories, but usually 1 or 2 dominate. Category 1, disrespect and dismissal. This is the trigger for people who grew up feeling invisible, invalidated, or unheard. Being interrupted, talked over, ignored, or having your ideas dismissed sends you into immediate rage. Because to your nervous system, it's not just rudeness, it's a threat to your existence. Your brain learned early, if I'm not seen, I don't matter. If I don't matter, I'm not safe. Common manifestations: rage when someone interrupts you, fury when your opinion is dismissed, explosive anger when you feel patronized or condescended to. Category 2, injustice and unfairness. This is the trigger for people with a strong sense of right and wrong, often shaped by experiencing or witnessing unfairness as children. When you see rules being broken, people getting away with things, or outcomes that feel unjust, your anger ignites instantly. Your brain screams, "This is wrong. This can't stand." Common manifestations: road rage when someone breaks traffic laws, fury at work when someone gets credit they don't deserve, explosive anger at cheating, lying, or rule-breaking of any kind. Category 3, loss of control. This triggers people who experienced chaos or unpredictability growing up. When things don't go according to plan, when you can't control outcomes, when situations feel chaotic or uncertain, your nervous system panics. The anger is actually fear dressed up in aggression. Your brain learned control equals safety. Loss of control equals danger. Common manifestations: rage when plans change last minute, fury when technology doesn't work, explosive anger when people are late or unreliable, meltdowns when life feels chaotic. Category 4, criticism and judgment. This triggers people who experienced harsh criticism, perfectionism, or conditional love growing up. Any feedback, however constructive, feels like an attack on your worth as a person. Your nervous system can't distinguish between "your report has a typo" and "you're worthless." Both trigger the same fight response. Common manifestations: defensive rage when receiving feedback, fury when corrected, explosive anger that masks deep shame, attacking before being attacked. Category 5, abandonment and rejection. This triggers people who experienced loss, neglect, or inconsistent care as children. When someone cancels plans, doesn't respond to texts, seems distant, or pulls away emotionally, your anger flares. The anger is a protection mechanism. If I'm angry at you, I can't be hurt by you. If I push you away first, you can't abandon me. Common manifestations: rage when plans are cancelled, fury when calls or texts go unanswered, explosive anger that pushes people away before they can leave you. Which category resonates most with you? Be honest, there's no judgment here. These patterns were formed when you were young and doing your best to survive and make sense of a confusing world. Understanding your category isn't about blame. It's about awareness. It's about seeing the pattern so you can interrupt it. Let me tell you about Mark. Mark is a 42-year-old engineer, successful career, good marriage, 2 kids. But he had a serious problem: traffic rage. Not just annoyance, Full-blown, screaming, pounding the steering wheel, dangerous rage. He'd cut people off in retaliation. He'd tailgate aggressively. He'd pull up next to drivers and scream at them through the window. It was only a matter of time before he got in a fight or caused an accident. His wife refused to let him drive the kids anymore. That's when he came to see me. I asked him to track his traffic rage for 2 weeks. Write down every incident. What happened, what time, what else was going on that day. The pattern emerged immediately. Every single rage incident happened when he was running late. Not when traffic was bad, not when people drove poorly. When he was late, we dug deeper. Why did being late trigger such intense rage? Mark's father was military. Punctuality wasn't just valued, it was sacred. Being late meant punishment, harsh punishment. Mark learned, being late equals danger. Being late means I'm bad. Being late threatens my worth. Now, as an adult, when someone made him late by driving slowly or cutting him off, it wasn't just inconvenience. His nervous system interpreted it as a threat to his fundamental worth as a person. The rage was his brain trying to eliminate the threat, destroy the person who's threatening my value. Once Mark saw this pattern, everything changed. He started building buffer time into his schedule, leaving 15 minutes earlier. If someone drove, slowly he'd say out loud, "They're not threatening my worth. I'm not in danger. This is just traffic. My father isn't here. I'm safe." Within a month, the road rage was gone. Not reduced, gone. Because he understood the trigger and addressed the real issue underneath it. Mark's story illustrates something crucial. Most of your adult triggers have childhood roots. Your nervous system learned what to fear and when to fight based on your early experiences. Those patterns are still running today, decades later, even though the original threat is long gone. This doesn't mean everything is your parents' fault. This isn't about blame. It's about understanding. Your young brain did the best it could with the information it had. It created strategies to keep you safe. The problem is those strategies are still active even though you're not a child anymore. Being criticized as a child. Your nervous system learned criticism equals danger. Defend at all costs. Now, as an adult, even gentle feedback triggers that ancient defense system, experiencing chaos and unpredictability growing up. Your nervous system learned control equals survival. Now, as an adult, any loss of control feels life-threatening, feeling invisible or unheard as a kid. Your nervous system learned being dismissed means I don't exist. Now, as an adult, being interrupted feels like annihilation. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're having a proportionate response to what your nervous system believes is happening. The problem is your nervous system is working with outdated information. The good news? Once you see the connection between your childhood patterns and your adult triggers, you can start updating the software. You can tell your nervous system, hey, we're not in danger, that was then. This is now, we're safe. Here's how you create your personal anger map. Step 1. Track for 7 days. Every time you feel angry, even slightly irritated, write it down. Note, what happened? What time was it? What was your halt status? What category does it fit? Be specific. Got angry at spouse isn't enough. Got angry when spouse interrupted me while I was explaining something. Felt dismissed. Hadn't eaten in 6 hours. Fits category 1. Disrespect. Step 2. Look for patterns after 7 days. Review your notes. What do you see? Do certain times of day show up repeatedly? Certain people? Certain situations? Does one trigger category dominate? Are halt factors present in most incidents? Step 3. Identify your top 3 based on your data. Name your top 3 triggers. Be specific. Not my spouse, but being criticized by my spouse when I'm already tired. Not work, but last-minute changes to plans at work when I thought everything was settled. Step 4. Create prevention. Strategies for each top trigger. Create a prevention strategy. If you're always angry when hungry, carry snacks. If you're triggered by being interrupted, schedule important conversations when you're well rested and can handle it better. If loss of control triggers you, build extra buffer time into schedules. You can't eliminate all triggers. Life happens, but you can dramatically reduce your exposure and increase your preparation. Starting today, you're going to become an expert on your anger. Action 1. Carry a small notebook or use your phone. Track every anger moment for the next 7 days. What happened? Halt status category. Time of day. Action 2. Do a halt check 3 times daily. Morning, noon, evening. Am I hungry? Angry, lonely, tired? If yes to any, take preventive action before you encounter triggers. Action 3. Identify your dominant trigger category. Which of the 5 resonates most? Think about your childhood. What did your nervous system learn to fear or fight? Action 4. At the end of 7 days, identify your top 3 specific triggers and create 1 prevention strategy for each. Knowledge is power, but not in the way most people think. Knowing your triggers doesn't prevent anger from arising. It prevents anger from surprising you. It prevents anger from controlling you. When you can say, I'm in a high trigger situation right now. I need to be extra careful. I need to use my pause technique. I need to be prepared, and that's mastery. That's not being at the mercy of your emotions. That's being the informed manager of your emotional life. You're 40% through this audiobook. You've got the pause. You've got the trigger map. Next, we're going deep with secret number 3, the RAIN technique. This is the mindfulness-based approach that transforms your entire relationship with anger. This is where reactive becomes responsive, where resistance becomes acceptance. But first, do the work. Track your triggers. Be honest, be specific. The data you gather this week will change everything. Comment your biggest insight. What trigger category resonated most? What pattern are you starting to see in your own life? Sharing it helps cement the learning. This awareness is your superpower. Use it. See you in Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Secret number 3, the RAIN technique, mindful response. Before we go any further, I need to tell you something that nobody else will. Something that might completely change how you've been thinking about this entire journey. Here it is. The goal is not to stop getting angry. Read that again. The goal is not to stop getting angry. I know that's probably why you're here. You want to never feel anger again. You want to be that person who's always calm, always in control, never triggered. You think the measure of success is the absence of anger. But that's not just unrealistic, it's actually harmful. Because anger is not the enemy. Anger is information. Anger is a messenger. And when you try to eliminate the messenger, you miss the message. Here's what nobody tells you about anger management. The goal isn't to stop getting angry. The goal is to change your relationship with anger, to stop being controlled by anger and start being informed by anger. To move from anger is happening to me to anger is happening in me, and I can observe it without being consumed by it. This changes everything you thought you knew, and this chapter, secret number 3, is where that transformation happens. Welcome to the RAIN technique. This is where we go deep. This is where reactive becomes responsive. This is where you learn to sit with anger without drowning in it. Let me show you something. Right now, don't think about a pink elephant. Whatever you do, do not picture a pink elephant in your mind. What happened? You immediately thought of a pink elephant, didn't you? That's the paradox of suppression. What you resist persists. What you fight against grows stronger. When you try to push anger away, when you tell yourself, I shouldn't feel this, when you judge yourself for being angry, you actually intensify the anger. Think about the last time you tried to force yourself not to be angry. How did that work? Did the anger disappear? Or did it just go underground, building pressure, waiting to explode at the next trigger? Most people toggle between 2 equally ineffective strategies, explosion or suppression. Either they let anger out in destructive ways, or they stuff it down and pretend it's not there. Both create problems. Explosion damages relationships and destroys trust. Suppression creates physical illness, chronic resentment, and eventually explosion anyway. But there's a third option, and it's not a middle ground between the two. It's a completely different approach. Acceptance. Not acceptance as in this is fine or I give up. Acceptance as in, this is what I'm experiencing right now, and I can be present with it without being controlled by it. RAIN is a mindfulness technique developed by meditation teacher Michelle McDonald and popularized by psychologist Tara Brach. It stands for Recognize, Allow, Investigate, Nurture. These 4 steps transform your relationship with anger. They move you from being swept away by the emotion to being the aware observer of the emotion. Let me break down each step. Recognize. The first step is simple but profound. Name what you're feeling. When anger arises, instead of immediately acting on it or pushing it away, you pause and say, either out loud or silently, this is anger. I'm feeling angry right now. This sounds almost too simple to matter. But naming the emotion does something powerful in your brain. It activates your prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain. Brain imaging studies show that when you label an emotion, activity in the amygdala decreases. Just by naming what you feel, you reduce its intensity. Psychologist Dan Siegel calls this name it to tame it. You're not eliminating the emotion. You're creating a tiny bit of space between you and the emotion. You're shifting from I am angry to I am experiencing anger. You're no longer the anger. You're the person observing anger. Allow. This is the hardest step for most people. Allow means let it be. Don't push it away. Don't judge it. Don't tell yourself you shouldn't feel it. Just let it be present. Say to yourself, it's okay to feel this. This feeling is allowed to be here. This goes against everything you've been taught. You've probably spent your whole life trying not to feel anger, trying to control it, suppress it, eliminate it. But here's the truth. You can't selectively numb emotions. When you push away anger, you also push away joy, love, connection. When you resist one feeling, you build walls around all feelings. Allowing doesn't mean you like the anger. It doesn't mean you're giving it permission to control you. It means you're acknowledging its presence without adding a layer of judgment and resistance that makes it worse. Think of anger like a wave in the ocean. You can't stop the wave, but you can learn to ride it. Allowing is how you stay on the surfboard instead of being dragged under. Investigate. Now that you've recognized and allowed the anger, you can get curious about it. This is where the real learning happens. Ask yourself with genuine curiosity, what is this anger trying to tell me? What do I need right now? What feels threatened? Notice where you feel anger in your body. Is it heat in your chest? Tension in your jaw? Tightness in your stomach? Breathe into that place. Get curious about the sensation itself, not just the story around it. Then go deeper. What's underneath the anger? Often, anger is a surface emotion protecting something more vulnerable. Underneath anger is usually fear, or hurt, or disappointment, or grief. Anger says, how dare they? But underneath, there's often, I'm scared, or I'm hurting, or I feel powerless. This investigation isn't about justifying the anger or building a case for why you're right. It's about understanding the message. What unmet need is this anger pointing to? What boundary has been crossed? What value has been violated? Nurture. The final step is to offer yourself compassion, to respond to yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a good friend. Place your hand on your heart. Take a breath. Say something like, this is hard. It's okay to struggle. I'm doing my best. This isn't self-pity. This is self-compassion. There's a crucial difference. Self-pity says, poor me, life is terrible. Self-compassion says, this is difficult, and I deserve kindness as I move through it. Dr. Kristin Neff's research shows that self-compassion actually increases resilience and decreases emotional reactivity. When you're kind to yourself, you're better able to handle difficult emotions. When you're harsh and judgmental with yourself, you add shame to the anger, which only makes everything worse. After investigating what you need, the nurturing step asks, what would be genuinely helpful right now? Maybe it's taking a walk. Maybe it's calling a friend. Maybe it's setting a boundary. Maybe it's just breathing and letting the wave pass. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Jennifer is a mother of 3 kids under age 10. She came to me because she couldn't stop yelling at her children. Every evening was chaos, homework battles, dinner resistance, bedtime fights. She'd explode, scream things she didn't mean, then collapse in guilt and shame. She was terrified she was damaging her kids the way her own mother had damaged her. I taught her rain. At first she was skeptical. "I don't have time for meditation in the middle of a tantrum," she said, but she tried. One evening, her 7-year-old refused to do homework for the 3rd time. Jennifer felt the familiar rage building. Instead of exploding, she tried rain. "Recognize, I'm feeling angry. My chest is hot. My jaw is clenched. Allow. It's okay to feel this. This is frustrating, and I'm allowed to be frustrated. Investigate. What's underneath this? I'm scared. I'm scared she's going to fall behind. I'm scared I'm failing as a mother. I feel powerless and out of control. Nurture, hand on heart. This is hard. Parenting is hard. I'm doing my best. What do I need right now? I need a minute to breathe." The whole process took maybe 30 seconds. But in those 30 seconds, everything changed. Jennifer didn't yell. She looked at her daughter and said, "I'm feeling frustrated and I need a minute. I'm going to step outside for 2 minutes, then we'll figure this out together." She went outside. She breathed. When she came back in, she was calm. She sat with her daughter and discovered the real issue. The homework was too hard, and her daughter was embarrassed to admit it. They worked through it together. No yelling, no shame, no damage. Jennifer told me later through tears. "For the first time in my life, I felt the anger and didn't become the anger. I was still me. I was still in control. It was like watching the anger from outside instead of being consumed by it." That's the power of rain. Let's practice together right now. Think of something that's mildly irritating, not your biggest anger trigger, just something that annoys you. Maybe it's traffic. Maybe it's a messy kitchen. Maybe it's an unanswered text. Got it? Good. Now feel whatever irritation is there and walk through rain with me. Recognize. Name it silently or out loud. "I'm feeling irritated about X. This is frustration. This is annoyance." Allow. Say to yourself, "It's okay to feel this. This feeling is allowed to be here. I'm not bad for feeling this." Investigate. Get curious. Where do you feel this in your body? What's it trying to tell you? What do you need? Breathe into the sensation. Nurture. Hand on your heart. "This is uncomfortable and I'm handling it. I'm okay." What would help right now? Feel the difference? Even with a small irritation, there's a shift. You're no longer swept away. You're the observer. You're the aware presence holding the emotion instead of being drowned by it. Now imagine using this with real anger. With the big stuff, it works the same way. The intensity is greater, but the process is identical. Let me show you what's happening in your brain when you practice rain. When you recognize and name the emotion, you're activating your prefrontal cortex. Brain scans show that labeling emotions reduces amygdala activity by up to 50%. You're literally calming the alarm system. When you allow the emotion instead of resisting it, you prevent the secondary suffering. The anger itself might last 90 seconds, but the shame, judgment, and resistance can last hours or days. Allowing cuts off that secondary layer. When you investigate with curiosity, you're engaging the conscious, aware part of your brain. Curiosity and rage cannot coexist. The brain can't be genuinely curious and in full fight mode simultaneously. Investigation disrupts the hijack. When you nurture yourself with compassion, you're activating your caregiving system, the same neural networks that activate when you comfort a child. Self-compassion literally changes your neurochemistry, releasing oxytocin and reducing cortisol. This isn't woo-woo. This is measurable brain science. Rain works because it engages the exact neural systems that counteract the anger response. As you practice rain, watch out for these common pitfalls. Mistake 1. Using rain to make anger go away. Rain is not a technique for eliminating anger. It's a technique for being present with anger. If you're using it to get rid of the feeling, you're missing the point. The goal is to change your relationship with anger, not to eliminate it. Mistake 2. Skipping straight to nurture. Don't bypass the difficult work of recognizing, allowing, and investigating. If you jump to be kind to yourself without first sitting with the anger, you're just spiritual bypassing. You're using kindness as another form of suppression. Mistake 3. Turning investigation into rumination. Investigation is curious and open. What's this about? Rumination is repetitive and closed. Why did they do this to me? Don't use the investigation step to build your case or rehearse your grievances. Stay curious, not accusatory. Mistake 4. Expecting perfection. The first times you try rein in real anger, it might not work perfectly. That's normal. You're building a new neural pathway. Keep practicing. Even partial success is progress. Here's how to integrate rein into your life. Action 1. Practice rein daily with small emotions. Don't wait for rage. Practice with minor irritations, frustrations, anxiety. Build the muscle memory. Action 2. Journal 1. Rein experience daily for the next week. Write out each step. What did you recognize? What did allowing feel like? What did you investigate? How did you nurture? Action 3. Notice the shift from I am angry to I am experiencing anger. Pay attention to that subtle but profound difference. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness experiencing emotions. Action 4. Use rein in combination with the pause from Chapter 3. When anger arises, pause, breathe, then rein. They work together beautifully. This is the deepest work we've done so far. This isn't just a technique. This is a fundamental shift in how you relate to your inner world. Most people spend their entire lives at war with their emotions, fighting anger, judging themselves for feeling what they feel, creating layers of suffering on top of the original pain. Rein offers a different way, a way of being with your emotions that doesn't require you to be perfect, to never feel anger, to always be in control. It offers the possibility of being fully human, feeling everything, being swept away by nothing. You're now past the halfway point of this audiobook. You're 50% through the journey. You have the pause. You know your triggers. And now you have rein, a way to transform your relationship with anger itself. The next chapter builds on this foundation. We're moving into cognitive work, how to rewrite the stories that fuel your anger, how to challenge the thoughts that keep you stuck in rage. But this chapter, this is the turning point. This is where managing anger becomes transforming anger. This is where control becomes wisdom. Take a moment. Put your hand on your heart. Acknowledge how far you've come. You're not the same person who started this audiobook. You're already changing. The neural pathways are already forming. Comment rein if you commit to practicing this daily. Say it out loud. I commit to rein. That verbal commitment matters. It activates something in your brain that silent intention doesn't. This is your work. This is your transformation. And you're doing it. We move on to Chapter 6, where we rewrite the stories. Chapter 6. Secret number 4. Rewrite your story. Cognitive restructuring. You've learned to pause. You've mapped your triggers. You've practiced rein, sitting with anger without being consumed by it. Now it's time to go even deeper. It's time to challenge the stories that create your anger in the first place. Because here's a truth that will set you free. It's not what happens to you that makes you angry. It's what you tell yourself about what happens. Two people experience the exact same event. One walks away calm. The other is enraged. Same event. Different reactions. Why? Because they're telling themselves different stories about what happened and what it means. This chapter is about becoming aware of those stories, questioning them, and when necessary, rewriting them. Welcome to secret number 4, cognitive restructuring. This is where you become the editor of your own mental narrative. This is where you reclaim power over the thoughts that fuel your rage. Let me introduce you to the ABC model, developed by psychologist Albert Ellis. It's simple but revolutionary. A. Activating event. Something happens. Your boss ignores your idea in a meeting. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your partner forgets to do something they promised. B. Belief. You have a thought about what happened. You interpret it. You give it meaning. My boss doesn't respect me. That driver is a selfish jerk. My partner doesn't care about me. C. Consequence. You experience an emotion and take action based on your belief. You feel angry. You yell. You sulk. You retaliate. Here's what most people think. A cause is C. The event causes the emotion. My boss ignoring me made me angry. That driver cutting me off made me furious. But that's not how it works. B causes C. Your belief about the event creates the emotion. The story you tell yourself about what happened is what makes you angry. Let me prove it to you. Same A, different B, different C. Example. 1A. Your boss ignores your idea in a meeting. He doesn't respect me. I'm not valued here. This is unfair. C1. Anger, resentment. Maybe you shut down or make a sarcastic comment. Example. A. Your boss ignores your idea in a meeting. B2. He's stressed today. He probably didn't hear me. I'll follow up after. C2. Mild disappointment maybe, but no anger. You stay calm and send a follow-up email, same event. Two completely different emotional outcomes. The difference? The story. This is incredibly empowering once you grasp it, because you can't always control the activating events. Life happens. People do frustrating things. But you have far more control over B, your beliefs and interpretations, than you realize. Your brain is not a neutral observer. It's a meaning-making machine, constantly interpreting events. And when you're prone to anger, your brain develops habitual patterns of interpretation, cognitive distortions that make anger more likely. Let me show you the 5 most common distortions that fuel anger. Distortion 1. Mind reading you. Assume you know what others are thinking or why they did something. She didn't say hello because she hates me. He's late because he doesn't respect my time. They gave me this assignment because they think I'm incompetent. The problem? You're not psychic. You don't actually know what's in someone else's head. But your brain fills in the blanks with the most anger-inducing explanation possible. Distortion 2. Catastrophizing. You blow things out of proportion. You take a small problem and spin it into disaster. This traffic means I'll be late, which means my boss will be mad, which means I'll get fired, which means I'll lose everything. Reality, you'll be 5 minutes late. Your boss probably won't even notice, but the catastrophic story creates rage at the traffic when the real problem is your interpretation. Distortion 3. Should statements. You have rigid rules about how things should be. People should be on time. My spouse should know what I need without me saying it. Life should be fair. Every time reality violates your should, you get angry. The problem? The universe doesn't care about your shoulds. Reality is what it is. Fighting against what should be is a recipe for constant anger. Distortion 4. Black and white thinking. You see things in extremes. All or nothing. Perfect or disaster. He criticized one thing I did, therefore he thinks I'm completely incompetent. She forgot one thing, therefore she never cares about my needs. This distortion eliminates nuance and gray areas. It turns minor issues into major betrayals. It makes anger inevitable. Distortion. Personalization. You take everything personally. You assume things are about you when they're not. Someone is short with you and you think they're mad at me instead of they might be having a bad day. Someone cancels plans and you think they don't want to see me instead of they're probably overwhelmed. This distortion makes you the center of every story, which means every negative event becomes a personal attack worth defending against. Do any of these sound familiar? Most people engage in all 5 regularly without even realizing it. These distortions are automatic. They happen so fast you don't notice them, but once you learn to spot them, you can interrupt them. Here's a game-changing question to ask yourself when you're angry. Is this fact or interpretation? Facts are observable, verifiable, undeniable. My boss did not respond to my comment in the meeting. My partner forgot to pick up milk. The car in front of me is driving slowly. Interpretations are stories you add on top of the facts. My boss doesn't respect me. My partner doesn't care about me. This driver is doing this on purpose to annoy me. Most of your anger comes from interpretations, not facts. But your brain presents interpretations as if they're facts. It doesn't say, I'm interpreting this as disrespect. It says, this is disrespect. Learning to separate fact from interpretation is like developing a superpower. Suddenly you realize I'm not angry at what happened. I'm angry at what I'm telling myself about what happened. And if I can tell myself a different story, one that's equally valid, the anger dissolves. Here's how you practice reframing in real time. Step 1. Notice you're angry. Use your early warning signs from Chapter 4. Jaw clenching, chest heating, shoulders tensing. The moment you notice, pause. Step 2. Identify the thought. Ask, what am I telling myself right now? Catch the thought. She's trying to make me look bad. He doesn't care. This always happens to me. Step 3. Label the distortion. Is it mind reading? Catastrophizing? A should statement? Black and white thinking? Personalization? Name it. This alone creates distance from the thought. Step 4. Separate fact from interpretation. Ask, what actually happened? Strip away the story. Get to the bare facts. She interrupted me versus she's trying to humiliate me. Which is fact? Which is interpretation? Step 5. Generate alternative interpretations. Ask, what's another way to see this? Brainstorm at least 3 alternative explanations that are equally plausible. Maybe she was excited and didn't realize. Maybe she's stressed about something else. Maybe she didn't even hear me. The goal isn't to convince yourself of a specific alternative. The goal is to see that your first interpretation isn't the only one, or even necessarily the most accurate one. Step 6. Choose the most useful story, not the most positive. Not the one that lets others off the hook. The most useful, the one that serves you. The one that allows you to stay calm and handle the situation effectively. Let me show you this in action. David is a software engineer. He spent 3 weeks developing a new feature. In the team meeting, his boss barely glanced at his work and moved on to the next item. David felt rage building. His immediate thought, he doesn't value my work. I'm wasting my time here. This is so disrespectful. Old David would have shut down, stopped contributing, or worse, made a passive-aggressive comment that damaged the relationship. But David had been practicing reframing. He paused. He caught the thought, he doesn't value my work. He labeled the distortion, mind reading. I don't actually know what he's thinking. He separated fact from interpretation. Fact, he spent 30 seconds on my presentation and moved to the next item. Interpretation, he doesn't value it. He generated alternatives. Maybe he's rushing because the meeting is running over. Maybe he already reviewed it in detail offline and doesn't need to discuss it now. Maybe he loved it and doesn't see any issues to address. He chose the most useful story. I don't have enough information yet. I'll follow up after the meeting to get his feedback. David approached his boss after the meeting. Hey, I noticed we didn't spend much time on the new feature. I'd love to get your thoughts when you have time. His boss looked surprised. Oh, I thought it was excellent. I sent you a detailed email this morning with my feedback. Did you not get it? David had missed the email in his inbox. His boss loved the work, had been praising it to others. David's anger was based on a completely false story. This happens more often than you think. The stories you tell yourself are frequently wrong, but they feel so real, so true, so obvious. That's why questioning them is essential. As you practice reframing, you'll encounter resistance. Here are the common objections and how to handle them. But I'm right. My interpretation is accurate. Maybe. But ask yourself, is being right worth being angry? Even if your interpretation is accurate, even if your boss truly doesn't value you, is the anger helping you or hurting you? Does it make you more or less effective? Reframing isn't about lying to yourself. It's about choosing interpretations that serve you. This feels like letting them off the hook. Reframing isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about freeing yourself from unnecessary suffering. You can acknowledge someone behaved poorly and not let it destroy your peace. You can address the issue calmly instead of exploding. That's not letting them off the hook. That's being strategic. Some things really are unfair, disrespectful, wrong. True. And you can acknowledge that while still choosing how you respond. This is genuinely unfair, doesn't have to lead to, therefore I must be consumed with rage. You can think, this is unfair. I don't like it, and I can handle it calmly and strategically. Here's your work for this chapter. Action 1. For the next 7 days, every time you feel angry, write down the thought. Just catch it and record it. I'm thinking X. Build awareness of your automatic thoughts. Action 2. Pick one anger incident from this week. Walk it through the ABC model. What was A, the event? What was B, your thought, interpretation? What was C, your emotion, reaction? See the connection. Action 3. Identify your most common cognitive distortion. Which of the 5 do you use most? Mind reading? Catastrophizing? Should statements? Black and white thinking? Personalization? Awareness is the first step to change. Action 4. Practice the 6-step reframing process on small frustrations. Don't wait for big anger. Practice on minor irritations so the skill is ready when you need it. You're 60% through this journey now. Think about how far you've come. You started with the pause, then you mapped your triggers. You learned RAIN, and now you're working at the level of thoughts, the source code of your emotional experience. This is deep work. This is the work that creates lasting change. Because when you change how you interpret events, you change how you feel about events. And when you change how you feel, you change how you act. And when you change how you act, you change your life. The next chapter is about expression, how to communicate your needs without exploding, how to be assertive instead of aggressive, how to have difficult conversations skillfully, because reframing doesn't mean staying silent. It means choosing your battles wisely and fighting them effectively. But you can't communicate clearly when you're consumed by distorted thoughts. The work you just did in this chapter is the foundation for the work ahead. Take a moment. Think about a recent anger episode. Can you see it differently now? Can you spot the distortion? Can you generate an alternative interpretation? That shift in perspective, that's your freedom. Comment your most common cognitive distortion. Which one do you recognize in yourself? Mind reading? Catastrophizing? Shoulds? Naming it is powerful. You're not the same person who started this audiobook. Your brain is different. The pathways are changing. You're becoming someone who questions their thoughts instead of being enslaved by them. That's mastery. Keep going. See you in Chapter 7. Chapter 7, Secret Number 5. Express without exploding. Healthy communication. You've learned to pause. You know your triggers. You can sit with anger through RAIN. You've reframed the thoughts that fuel your rage. But there's still a crucial question. What do you do with the anger? How do you express your needs, set boundaries, and address problems without exploding? Because here's what most people don't realize. Suppressing your anger is just as destructive as exploding with it. The goal isn't to become a doormat who never speaks up. The goal is to become someone who can express difficult emotions skillfully and effectively. Welcome to Secret Number 5, Assertive Communication. This is where you learn to use your voice without losing your mind. This is where anger becomes information you can share rather than a bomb you detonate. Most people toggle between two unhealthy communication styles, aggressive and passive. Let me show you the difference and introduce you to a third option you may never have considered. Aggressive communication. This is explosion. You express your anger loudly, harshly, without regard for others. You interrupt, you blame, you attack. Your goal is to win, to dominate, to make the other person feel as bad as you do. Language of aggression. You always, you never. What's wrong with you? You're so. Body language, loud voice, pointing finger, invading space, aggressive posture. Short-term result. You might get what you want through intimidation. You might feel powerful in the moment. Long-term cost. Damaged relationships. Lost trust. People avoiding you. Reputation is volatile. Nobody wants to give you honest feedback. Isolation. Passive communication. This is suppression. You swallow your anger. You don't express your needs. You avoid conflict at all costs. You say it's fine when it's not fine. You pretend things don't bother you when they do. Language of passivity. Whatever you want. I don't care. It's fine. Silence body language. Avoiding eye contact. Slumped shoulders, quiet voice, making yourself small. Short-term result. You avoid conflict. People might see you as nice or easy. Long-term cost. Resentment builds. Your needs never get met. People walk all over you. You eventually explode from accumulated anger, chronic stress, and health problems. Loss of self-respect. Both styles are destructive. Aggressive communication damages others. Passive communication damages you. But there's a third option most people have never been taught. Assertive communication. This is the healthy middle ground. You express your needs clearly and calmly. You stand up for yourself while respecting others. You're honest about your feelings without being cruel. You're firm about your boundaries without being aggressive. Language of assertion. I feel X when Y because Z. I would prefer, this doesn't work for me. Body language. Calm voice. Direct but not aggressive eye contact. Open posture. Grounded stance. Result. Your needs get expressed and often met. Relationships strengthen through honest communication. You maintain self-respect. Others know where they stand with you. Conflicts get resolved instead of festering. The question isn't whether you get angry. The question is, how do you communicate that anger? Assertiveness is the skill that transforms anger from a relationship destroyer into a relationship strengthener. The most powerful tool in assertive communication is the I statement. It's a simple formula that allows you to express difficult emotions without attacking the other person. Here's the formula. I feel emotion when behavior, because impact. Let's break it down. I feel. You own your emotion. You're not blaming. You're not making the other person responsible for your feelings. You're simply stating your internal experience. When behavior. You describe the specific observable behavior. Not the person's character, not their intentions, just what they did. When you interrupted me, not when you disrespected me, because impact. You explain the effect on you. Why this matters. What need of yours isn't being met. Let me show you the contrast. Aggressive. You statement. You're so inconsiderate. You never listen to me. What's wrong with you? Assertive. I statement. I feel frustrated when I'm interrupted mid-sentence because I don't feel heard, and it makes it hard for me to express my thoughts. Same issue. Completely different delivery. The aggressive version attacks the person's character and creates defensiveness. The assertive version expresses the feeling and invites dialogue. Here are more examples. Instead of, you're always on your phone. You don't care about this family. Try. I feel disconnected when we're at dinner and phones are out because I value this time to connect with you. Instead of, you're so lazy. You never help around here. Try. I feel overwhelmed when I'm doing most of the household tasks because I need support to manage everything. Instead of, you're a terrible boss. You don't appreciate anything I do. Try. I feel discouraged when my contributions aren't acknowledged because recognition helps me know I'm on the right track. Notice the shift? These statements de-escalate. They open conversation instead of shutting it down. They express your truth without making the other person wrong. But here's what most people miss. Assertive communication isn't just about expressing yourself. It's also about listening, really listening, especially during conflict. When someone is upset with you, your instinct is to defend, explain, or counterattack. But that's exactly what escalates conflict. What de-escalates is listening, truly hearing what they're saying before you respond. Here's how to practice active listening during anger. Step 1. Pause your defense. When someone expresses anger or frustration, your amygdala wants to fight back immediately. Resist. Take a breath. Your job right now isn't to defend yourself. It's to understand. Step 2. Reflect back. What you heard before you respond with your perspective, summarize what they said. So what I'm hearing is you feel X because Y, is that right? This does two things. It ensures you actually understood them and it makes them feel heard. Most conflicts escalate because people feel misunderstood. Step 3. Validate their experience. You don't have to agree with their interpretation. But you can acknowledge their feelings are real. I can see why you'd feel that way, or that makes sense from your perspective. Validation isn't agreement. It's recognition that their experience is valid for them, even if you see things differently. Step 4. Now share your perspective only. After you've listened and validated, share your view. Use I statements. I understand you felt X. From my side, I was experiencing Y, which is why I did Z. This approach, listen first, validate, then share, transforms conflicts from shouting matches into conversations. One of the hardest parts of assertive communication is setting boundaries. Saying no, pushing back, standing your ground. Most people either feel guilty when they set boundaries, passive tendency, or become aggressive about it. Assertive boundary setting is firm but respectful. Here's how. The boundary formula. I'm not able, willing to X, but I can Y, or I need X. And here's what I can offer in return, Y. Examples. Work boundary. I'm not able to take on additional projects this week as I'm at capacity, but I can revisit this next Monday. Family boundary. I'm not available to talk right now because I need some time to decompress, but I can fully engage with you in an hour. Social boundary. I won't be able to make it to that event, but I'd love to catch up with you one-on-one next week. Relationship boundary. I need us to have difficult conversations without yelling. If voices get raised, I'll need to take a break and come back when we can talk calmly. Notice the pattern? You state what doesn't work for you, and when possible, offer an alternative. You're not just saying no. You're setting a clear boundary while showing you still care about the relationship or commitment. Sometimes you need to have a hard conversation about accumulated anger or hurt. Here's a framework that works. Choose the right time and place. Don't ambush people. Can we talk about X? When would be a good time for you? Private setting. No distractions. Both people relatively calm. Start with context and intent. I want to talk about X because I value our relationship and I think this is getting in the way. My intention is to find a solution we both feel good about. Use I statements to express the issue. I feel X when Y because Z. Be specific. Stick to observable behaviors, not character judgments. Listen to their perspective. Use active listening. Reflect back. Validate. Resist the urge to defend until you fully understand their view. Collaborate on solutions. What would help here? How can we handle this differently going forward? Make it a shared problem to solve, not a battle to win. Agree on specific actions. Vague agreements don't change anything. We'll communicate better is meaningless. We'll check in with each other every evening for 10 minutes is actionable. Lisa and Tom had been married for 15 years. The marriage was dying. They barely spoke. When they did, it was either cold silence, Lisa's passive style, or explosive fights, Tom's aggressive style. Lisa came to therapy alone. She was ready to leave. I've tried everything, she said. Nothing changes. I asked her to show me how she communicated with Tom. She demonstrated weeks of silence, resentment building, then finally exploding. You never help. You don't care about me. I do everything around here. Tom would defend aggressively. That's not true. You're being dramatic. You never appreciate what I do. Both felt unheard. Both felt attacked. The cycle had been repeating for years. I taught Lisa I statements. She was skeptical but willing to try. That weekend, Tom did something that normally would have triggered silent treatment for days. He promised to fix the garage door and didn't. Old Lisa would have said nothing, simmered in resentment, and punished him with coldness. New Lisa waited until she was calm. Then she said, Tom, I need to talk about something. I feel frustrated when projects get promised but don't happen because I start planning around them and feel let down. I'm not attacking you. I just need to know if this is still happening or if I should plan differently. Tom was stunned. No yelling. No, you never. Just a clear, calm statement of the problem. He responded differently than he ever had. You're right. I'm sorry. I got busy and forgot. Let me put it on my calendar right now for this Saturday. Lisa told me later with tears. That was the first productive conversation we'd had in years. He actually heard me, and I didn't feel like a nag or a victim. I felt like a partner communicating a need. That was the turning point. They learned to speak to each other like adults instead of adversaries. The marriage didn't just survive. It thrived. 2 years later, they're closer than they've been in a decade, all because Lisa learned to express anger without exploding or suppressing. As you practice assertive communication, watch out for these pitfalls. Mistake 1. Using "I feel" as a Trojan horse for judgment. "I feel like you're being selfish" is not an I statement. Selfish is a judgment, not a feeling. Real feelings: frustrated, hurt, disappointed, angry, sad. Mistake 2. Bringing up the past. "I feel frustrated when you do X" is assertive. "I feel frustrated when you do X, just like you did last month and last year" is aggressive. Stay in the present issue. Mistake 3. Expecting perfect results immediately. The other person might not respond well the first time. They're used to your old style. Give them time to adjust. Keep practicing assertiveness even when it feels awkward. Mistake 4. Being assertive when you're in the middle of an amygdala hijack if you're at a 10 out of 10 anger. This isn't the time to practice I statements. Use your pause techniques first. Get to a 5 or below, then communicate. Here's your work for this chapter. Action 1. Have one difficult conversation this week using the framework. Start small. Don't pick your biggest conflict. Pick something manageable. Practice the skill. Action 2. Write out 3 I statements for issues you're currently frustrated about. Practice the formula. I feel emotion when behavior, because impact. Say them out loud. Make them natural. Action 3. Set one boundary this week. Use the boundary formula. Be clear, be firm, be respectful. Action 4. Practice active listening in your next conflict. Before you defend or explain, reflect back what you heard. See what happens. You're 75% through this audiobook now. You've built an incredible toolkit. You can pause. You know your triggers. You can sit with anger through rain. You can reframe distorted thoughts. And now you can express yourself clearly and assertively. This skill, assertive communication, will transform every relationship in your life. Your marriage, your parenting, your friendships, your career. Because when people know you'll speak up calmly and clearly, they trust you, they respect you, they want to work with you. Suppression makes you invisible. Aggression makes you avoided. Assertion makes you valued. The next chapter is about prevention, building your resilience reserve so anger doesn't happen as often in the first place. Because managing anger is important, but preventing unnecessary anger is even better. But you can't prevent all anger. Life will always have frustrations, which is why this skill, expressing anger skillfully, is one you'll use for the rest of your life. Think about a relationship where you tend to either explode or suppress. Can you imagine having a calm, clear conversation instead? Can you picture yourself using an I statement the next time you're frustrated? That's possible now. You have the tools. Comment I statements. If you commit to trying one difficult conversation this week, say it out loud. Make the commitment real. Your voice matters. Use it wisely. See you in Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Secret number 6. Build your resilience reserve. Prevention. You've learned powerful tools to manage anger when it arises. The pause, rain, cognitive reframing, assertive communication. These are reactive skills, what you do when anger shows up. And they work. But what if you could make anger less likely to show up in the first place? What if you could increase your capacity to handle stress so the things that used to trigger you just don't? That's what this chapter is about. Welcome to secret number 6, building your resilience reserve. This is prevention, not intervention. This is about making yourself nearly immune to the small stuff and far more capable of handling the big stuff. Because here's the truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. When you're depleted, physically, emotionally, mentally, your anger threshold drops to nothing. Everything becomes a trigger. But when you're resourced, when your tank is full, you can handle the same situations with grace and calm. This isn't self-indulgence. This is strategic self-care. This is how you build a foundation for emotional regulation that makes everything else easier. Imagine your capacity for stress as a bucket. Every stressor that happens during your day adds water to that bucket. Traffic, deadlines, difficult conversations, crying kids, long lines, unexpected problems. Drop by drop, your bucket fills. When you're well-rested, well-nourished, and emotionally balanced, you have a big bucket. It takes a lot to fill it. You can handle multiple stresses without overflowing, but when you're exhausted, running on empty, depleted in every way, your bucket is tiny. Just a few drops and it overflows. That's when you snap at your partner over something trivial. That's when you rage at the slow driver. That's when you lose it over spilled milk. The problem isn't the spilled milk. The problem is your bucket was already full before the milk even spilled. Most people focus on managing the overflow, controlling their anger once it erupts. That's important, and you've learned those skills. But it's far more effective to increase the size of your bucket and create drainage systems so the water level never gets dangerously high. That's what resilience building is, increasing your capacity and creating release valves for stress before it becomes anger. Let's start with the most powerful and most neglected resilience tool: sleep. When you're sleep-deprived, your amygdala becomes hyperreactive. Brain imaging studies show that after just one night of poor sleep, the amygdala responds 60% more intensely to negative stimuli. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, your rational, regulating brain, loses its ability to control that amygdala. It's like removing the brakes from your car while making the engine more powerful. Disaster waiting to happen. People who sleep less than 6 hours a night are 30% more likely to have anger outbursts. They report feeling more irritable, more reactive, less patient. Their emotional regulation is simply impaired at a biological level. But here's the good news: prioritizing sleep creates almost immediate improvements. Studies show that just 1 week of better sleep significantly reduces irritability and increases emotional stability. How to improve your sleep? Create a buffer zone. Stop screen time 60 minutes before bed. The blue light suppresses melatonin and keeps your brain alert. Read a book. Take a bath. Prepare for tomorrow. Wind down. Keep a consistent schedule. Go to bed and wake up at roughly the same time, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm thrives on consistency. Make your bedroom a sleep sanctuary. Dark, cool, around 65-68 degrees, quiet. Your bedroom should signal sleep, not work or entertainment. Deal with racing thoughts. If your mind won't shut off, keep a notebook by your bed. Do a brain dump. Write down everything you're worried about or need to remember. This signals your brain it's safe to let go. Even adding 30 minutes of sleep to your current routine can change your anger reactivity dramatically. This isn't luxury. This is fundamental maintenance for your emotional regulation system. When you experience stress or anger, your body floods with adrenaline and cortisol, chemicals designed to prepare you for physical action. But in modern life, you don't fight or flee. You sit in traffic, you stay in meetings, you swallow the anger. The chemicals have nowhere to go. Movement is how you metabolize those stress chemicals. Exercise literally processes and eliminates the biochemical residue of stress and anger. Research is crystal clear. Regular exercise significantly reduces anger, anxiety, and depression. People who exercise regularly have lower baseline stress levels and recover faster from stressful events. They simply have more resilience. You don't need to become a marathon runner. You just need to move your body regularly. The minimum effective dose, 20 to 30 minutes of moderate movement, most days of the week. Anger-releasing movements. High intensity when angry. When you're actually angry, vigorous exercise is your friend. Running, boxing, intense cycling, you're literally burning off the anger chemicals. Many people report that a hard workout completely transforms their emotional state. Daily maintenance, walking, swimming, yoga, dancing, anything that gets you moving consistently. This isn't about burning anger, it's about preventing the buildup in the first place. Micro movements throughout the day, desk stretches, walking meetings, taking the stairs, standing instead of sitting. These micro doses of movement prevent stress accumulation. Think of exercise as a release valve on your stress bucket. Every time you move, you're draining some of the pressure before it builds to overflow. Remember the HALT framework from Chapter 4? The H stands for hungry. There's a reason hangry is a real phenomenon. When your blood sugar crashes, your prefrontal cortex literally doesn't have enough glucose to function properly. Your impulse control plummets. Your irritability skyrockets. Your anger threshold drops to nothing. But it's not just about being fed. It's about what you're feeding yourself. Blood sugar stabilization. Eating protein and healthy fats with every meal keeps your blood sugar stable. This prevents the crashes that make you reactive. Refined carbs and sugar create spikes and crashes, emotional roller coasters. Reduce inflammation. Chronic inflammation in the body is linked to increased irritability and emotional volatility. Anti-inflammatory foods help: fatty fish, leafy greens, berries, nuts, olive oil. Pro-inflammatory foods hurt: processed foods, excess sugar, trans fats. Hydration matters. Even mild dehydration impairs cognitive function and increases irritability. Most people are chronically underhydrated. Aim for half your body weight in ounces of water daily. Caffeine and alcohol awareness. Both affect emotional regulation. Too much caffeine increases anxiety and reactivity. Alcohol might numb you temporarily, but disrupts sleep and increases next-day irritability. You don't need a perfect diet, but you do need awareness. Is your nutrition supporting your emotional stability or undermining it? Here's something remarkable. Regular meditation practice literally changes your brain structure. Brain imaging shows that people who meditate regularly have a larger, more active prefrontal cortex and a less reactive amygdala. You're literally rewiring yourself to be calmer, more regulated, less reactive. Not just in the moment you're meditating, all the time. Studies show that just 8 weeks of daily meditation practice creates measurable changes in emotional regulation. People report feeling calmer, more patient, less triggered by the same situations that used to enrage them. How to start? You don't need to sit in lotus position for an hour. Start with 5 minutes, just 5. Set a timer. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back to the breath. That's it. Informal mindfulness. You don't have to meditate formally. Practice mindfulness during daily activities. Eat one meal completely present, tasting every bite. Take one shower fully aware of the sensations. Have one conversation giving total attention. This trains your brain to be present instead of lost in reactive thoughts. Breathing practices throughout the day. Remember the 4-7-8 breathing from Chapter 3? Do it 3 times a day even when you're not angry. Morning, noon, evening. You're training your nervous system to be calm as its default state. The goal isn't to become a meditation master. The goal is to give your brain regular practice in being calm, present, and non-reactive. Over time, that becomes your baseline instead of stress and irritability. Tom is a 47-year-old executive. He came to me in crisis. He'd exploded at his team in a meeting, screaming, pounding the table. HR was involved. His marriage was hanging by a thread. He was having chest pains from stress. When I assessed his life, the pattern was obvious. Tom was running on empty. He slept 5 hours a night. He hadn't exercised in 2 years. He ate lunch at his desk, usually fast food. He drank 6 cups of coffee daily and wine every night to decompress. He never took breaks. He hadn't taken a real vacation in 3 years. His stress bucket wasn't just full. It was overflowing constantly. Every small frustration triggered rage because he had 0 capacity left. I gave Tom a prescription, and it wasn't medication. It was lifestyle. Sleep, 7.5 hours, non-negotiable. He blocked it on his calendar like a meeting. Movement, 20 minutes every morning before work. Just walking, nothing intense, just movement. Nutrition, protein with every meal. No skipping breakfast, cutting coffee to 2 cups, no alcohol on weeknights. Meditation, 5 minutes every morning after his walk. Tom was skeptical. "I don't have time for this," he said. I replied, "You don't have time not to do this. You're about to lose your job and your marriage. Which takes more time, 45 minutes of self-care daily or rebuilding your life after you've destroyed it?" He committed. Not perfectly. Some days he missed the meditation, some nights he only got 5 hours of sleep. But he did it mostly, consistently. Within 2 weeks he noticed a difference. "I'm not exploding at small stuff," he told me. "Yesterday someone spilled coffee on my presentation materials. Old me would have lost it. I just handled it. I was annoyed, but I stayed calm." Within a month, his team noticed. "You seem different," they said. "Less stressed," his wife noticed. "You're present when you're home now. You're not just physically here, you're actually with us." Within 3 months, the chest pains were gone. His doctor took him off the medication he'd been prescribed for stress-related symptoms. His performance review was the best he'd had in 5 years. His marriage started healing. Tom didn't learn new anger management techniques. He built a foundation that made anger management possible. He filled his resilience reserve. He expanded his stress bucket. He created drainage systems for daily stress. That's the power of prevention. Here's what's crucial to understand. None of these practices create instant transformation. But together, consistently, they create compound results. 1 good night of sleep won't change your life, but 30 consecutive nights of good sleep will change your brain, your hormones, your emotional regulation, your relationships. 1 walk won't eliminate your anger, but 90 days of daily walking will rewire your stress response, strengthen your resilience, shift your entire physiology. This is the compound effect. Small actions, repeated consistently, create massive change over time. Don't try to do everything perfectly starting tomorrow. That's a setup for failure. Instead, pick 1 thing from this chapter. Just 1. Sleep, movement, nutrition, meditation. Pick the one that resonates most or feels most needed. Master that one. Then add another. Here's your work for this chapter. Action 1. Add 30 minutes to your sleep this week. Just 30 minutes. Earlier bedtime, later wake up, or both. Notice how you feel after 7 days. Action 2. Move your body 10 minutes daily. Walk around the block. Do jumping jacks. Dance to 1 song. Just move every single day. Action 3. Try 5 minutes of morning meditation for 7 days. Use an app if helpful. Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer. Or just set a timer and breathe. Action 4. Notice your HALT status 3 times daily. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If yes to any, take preventive action immediately. You're now 85% through this journey. 1 chapter left. But before we get to the final integration, I need you to recognize what you're building here. You're not just learning anger management techniques, you're constructing a completely new operating system for your emotional life. Sleep, movement, nutrition, meditation, these aren't add-ons. They're the foundation that makes everything else possible. You can have all the best anger management techniques in the world, but if you're exhausted, malnourished, and running on stress chemicals, those techniques won't work. You'll be trying to build a house on sand. But when you build the foundation first, when you resource yourself properly, everything else gets easier. The pause comes naturally. Rain flows effortlessly. Assertive communication feels accessible. You're not fighting an uphill battle anymore. The next chapter is the final piece, your daily practice. How to integrate everything you've learned into a sustainable system. How to make this last for the rest of your life, not just the next few weeks, but the foundation starts now. Pick 1 action from this chapter. Commit to it for the next 7 days. Watch what happens to your anger when you're actually taking care of yourself. Comment which one you're choosing. Sleep, movement, nutrition, or meditation. Declare it. Make it real. Self-care isn't selfish. It's strategic. It's the difference between surviving and thriving. Let's finish strong. Chapter 9 is Waiting, your complete daily system for lasting transformation. Chapter 9, Secret number 7, the daily practice, making it stick. You've made it. 9 chapters, 7 secrets, 2 hours of deep work on transforming your relationship with anger. You've learned to pause to recognize triggers, to sit with anger through rain, to reframe your thoughts, to communicate assertively, to build resilience through self-care. But here's the truth that separates people who change from people who just consume information. Knowledge without practice is entertainment. Inspiration without implementation is just a temporary high. This final chapter is about making everything stick. It's about building a daily system so sustainable and practical that 6 months from now, a year from now, these skills are just who you are. Not something you have to think about. Not techniques you remember from a book you once listened to, but your new operating system. Welcome to secret number 7, the daily practice. This is where transformation becomes permanent. Your morning sets the tone for your entire day. Start reactive and stressed, and you'll be fighting uphill battles all day. Start grounded and intentional, and you give yourself a massive advantage. Here's your 5-minute anger prevention morning ritual. Just 5 minutes. You can do this before coffee, before checking your phone, before anything else. Minute 1. Breath work. Do 3 rounds of 4, 7, 8 breathing. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system. You're telling your body, we're starting today calm, not in fight or flight. Minute 2. Body scan, quick check-in. How do you feel physically? Where's the tension? Are you starting the day already tight and stressed? Shake it out. Roll your shoulders. Release the tension before it accumulates. Minute 3. Gratitude. Name 3 things you're grateful for. This isn't woo-woo. Gratitude activates different neural pathways than stress and anger. You're priming your brain to notice what's working, not just what's wrong. Minute 4. Intention setting. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Not what you want to accomplish, who you want to be. I want to be patient. I want to be present. I want to respond, not react. Set the intention. Minute 5. Trigger awareness. Think through your day. What potential triggers are coming? Difficult meeting? Rush hour traffic? Stressful deadline? Just knowing they're coming reduces their power. You're prepared, not blindsided, that's it. 5 minutes. Before your day even starts, you've resourced yourself, set your intention, and prepared for challenges. You've expanded your stress bucket before any water gets added. Evenings are for reflection and release. This is where you process the day, celebrate wins, learn from struggles, and let go before sleep. Here's your 3-minute evening practice. What went well? Identify one moment today where you handled anger differently than you would have before. Maybe you paused when you wanted to explode. Maybe you used an I statement instead of attacking. Maybe you caught a cognitive distortion. Acknowledge it. You're reinforcing the new neural pathways. What was hard? Where did you struggle? When did you react instead of respond? No judgment. Just awareness. What was the trigger? What was the thought? What could you try differently next time? What do I need to release? Are you still carrying anger from today? Are you replaying conflicts? Use RAIN right now. Recognize it, allow it, investigate it, nurture yourself. Then consciously choose to let it go. Holding on to it serves no purpose. It only poisons your sleep, and tomorrow, this evening practice takes 3 minutes. But it ensures you're learning from every day, not just repeating the same patterns. Let's be honest, you're going to slip. You're going to have days where you explode, where you forget everything you learned, where you react exactly like the old you. This isn't failure. This is being human. The question isn't if you'll relapse. It's when and what you do next. When you slip, step 1, don't catastrophize. One explosion doesn't mean you've lost all progress. You haven't failed. You've had a setback. There's a massive difference. Catastrophizing creates shame, and shame triggers more anger. Just acknowledge, I slipped. That's okay. I'm learning. Step 2, Do the autopsy, not the eulogy. What happened? What was the trigger? Were you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Had you been skipping your practices? What warning signs did you miss? Learn from it. Adjust. That's how you get better. Step 3. Make amends if needed. If you damaged a relationship, repair it. Use your assertive communication. I lost my temper yesterday. That wasn't okay. I'm working on managing my anger better, and I'm sorry I directed it at you. Step 4. Restart immediately. Don't wait until Monday or next month. Right now, in this moment, you can choose differently. Do 1 4 7 8 breath. You're back on track. Perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. And progress isn't linear. It's messy, inconsistent, full of setbacks. But every time you get back up, you're building the skill of resilience. Let me show you what's possible when you commit to this daily practice. Days from now, you're noticing triggers earlier. That jaw clench, that chest heat, you catch it in the first few seconds instead of the last few. You've used the pause successfully multiple times. Maybe not every time, but enough to notice a difference. Your family or colleagues have commented, "You seem calmer lately." You're sleeping better because you're not replaying conflicts all night. Days from now, rain is becoming automatic. When anger arises, you naturally recognize it, allow it, investigate it, nurture yourself. You're having difficult conversations using I statements, and they're actually working. Conflicts are getting resolved instead of escalating. You've had at least one situation that would have destroyed you 3 months ago, and you handled it calmly. You're starting to trust yourself. The old shame about your anger is fading. You're becoming someone who manages emotions well. 5 days from now, this is just who you are now. You don't think I need to use my anger techniques. You just naturally pause, reframe, respond instead of react. Your relationships have transformed, deeper, more honest, more trusting. Your kids are learning healthy anger expression by watching you. Your career has benefited from your emotional stability. Your health has improved from less chronic stress. You're teaching these skills to others because people ask, "How did you change so much?" This isn't fantasy. This is the predictable result of consistent daily practice. I've seen it hundreds of times. The transformation is real. The question is, will you do the work? Let's bring it all together. Here's your complete anger management system. Prevention before anger arises. Morning ritual, 5 minutes. Resilience practices, sleep, movement, nutrition, meditation, halt checks throughout the day, trigger awareness intervention. When anger strikes, the 5-second pause, breathe, count, walk away, rain technique, recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. Cognitive reframing, fact versus interpretation, challenge distortions. Expression, communicating anger. I statements, I feel X when Y because Z. Active listening before responding, assertive boundary setting reflection. Processing after. Evening practice, wins. Struggles, release. Learning from slips, celebrating progress. You don't need to use all of these all the time. But you have a complete toolkit now. Whatever the situation, you have a tool that fits. This is it. The audiobook ends in a few minutes, but your journey's just beginning. Everything you've learned is useless if you don't apply it. So right now, I'm asking you to make 4 commitments. Commitment 1. Choose your starting point. You can't do everything at once. Pick one practice to master first. The morning ritual. The pause. Statements. Rain. Just one. Master it for 30 days. Then add another. Commitment 2. Tell someone, share what you've learned with one person. Your partner, a friend, a colleague. Say out loud, I'm working on managing my anger better. Accountability makes change stick. Commitment 3. Set a review date. Put a reminder in your phone for 30 days from now. When it pops up, ask yourself, what's different? What's working? What needs adjustment? Then set another for 90 days. Then 365. Track your transformation. Commitment. Be kind to yourself. This is hard work. You're rewiring decades of programming. You'll slip. You'll struggle. You'll have bad days. That's not failure. That's learning. Treat yourself with the same compassion you'd show a good friend who's trying to change. I'm going to end where we began, with the most important message in this entire audiobook. You are not broken. Your anger doesn't define you. Your worst moments don't define you. You are not a bad person who gets angry. You are a human being with a nervous system shaped by your history, doing your best to navigate a stressful world with tools you were never taught. But now you have the tools. Now you know what's happening in your brain. Now you have techniques that work. Now you have a daily practice. 30 days from now, you could be the person who stays calm in traffic. 90 days from now, your relationships could be transformed. 1 year from now, you could be modeling healthy emotional regulation for everyone around you. You're not trying to stop being angry. You're learning to dance with anger, to sit with it without being consumed, to let it inform you without letting it control you. That's wisdom. That's mastery. That's freedom. Every morning when you wake up is a fresh start. Every moment is a chance to choose differently. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You're someone who is growing, learning, becoming. The anger will still come. That's life. But you don't have to be enslaved by it anymore. You have the pause. You have rain, you have reframing. You have assertive communication. You have resilience practices. You have a complete system. Now go and use it. When the trigger comes, and it will, pause, breathe. Remember these 2 hours. Remember that you have power. Remember that you are not your reaction. Remember that you always, always have a choice. Share this audiobook with someone who needs it. Leave a review so others can find it. Join the conversation. Comment about your journey, your struggles, your wins. You're part of a community now, a community of people choosing peace over reaction, response over rage, growth over shame. And remember this above all else. You are not broken. You are learning. You are not weak. You are growing. You are not alone. You are becoming. Now go. Practice. Choose. Transform. This is your time. Make it count.